When I get asked which smartwatch to buy, my answer always tends to be varying, depending on the needs of the person asking. But today that changes, and perhaps not for the reasons that you would instantly assume. This is my new instant smartwatch recommendation. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and Samsung's Galaxy Watch Ultra is my new favourite overall smartwatch, but its lofty price tag isn't for everyone. Neither is its chunky build and hefty weight. But the Galaxy Watch 7, this time around, feels like a slightly worse Ultra, but with the benefits of a far sleeker design and more palatable price. You might notice that in shots of this thing on my wrist, I am wearing a different band to what's actually officially coming with it, and that's because my review unit is missing the shorter strap, and the strap that came with it was not small enough for my hilariously tiny wrists, so I borrowed the smaller straps off of the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, confirming that the straps, at least on the 43mm Watch 6 Classic and the 44mm 7, are interchangeable. I hope that information is useful to at least one of you. I'm not gonna lie, I think one of the Watch 7's biggest selling points is its design. It's sleek, it's clean, it's minimal, and matched with this black faux leather band, I think it looks quite smart with those contrasting colours. The flat display though is way underrated, more important on a watch for me than on a smartphone. It just makes swiping in and around easier, the bezels are nice and thin without looking ridiculous, and the buttons on the side are nice and clicky with the subtle accent colour helping differentiate the two pushes. No physical ground or face dial on this watch, and unfortunately right now there is no classic variant, so if you wanted the wonderfully satisfying bezel, you'll have to settle for either last year's model, which to be fair is on sale for a massive discount in a lot of places, or deal with the software implementation here with haptic feedback as you move your finger around the bezel of the display. The vibration is actually really tight and really sells the effect quite well, and it's very clean, so I'm happy to make that compromise on this watch. It's satisfying to use, and if you don't want to use it, you simply don't have to. This gives you the option, which is quite nice. Samsung is known for making some of the best displays, and the Watch 7's is no exception to that rule. This 44mm Watch 7 models panel is nice and large, does all the things you need from a smartwatch screen. It's sharp, it's responsive, it's bright, it feels great to use. Not having any kind of raised edge could be a concern for those who are worrying about scratching the display, but the benefits are that it's easier to swipe in from the edges, screen protectors are way easier to apply, and you tend to get thinner bezels this way if that's something you're interested in. Its responsiveness is helped by the Exynos W1000 chip and 2 gigs of RAM, which effectively just translate to some of the better smartwatch specifications you can get. They keep the Watch 7 feeling fresher and zippier for longer, and the storage has actually doubled to 32 gigs this time around, which is pretty neat for installing all of your favourite apps. It runs One UI 6.1.1 Watch on Wear OS 5, which means it's still very much up to date despite having launched 4 months ago. And though don't be worried if you're coming from a slightly older watch device from Samsung Galaxy, as the layout is basically the same and the whole interface feels very friendly and intuitive. This is another one of those big reasons why this is my instant recommendation to people, because a lot of those looking to buy a smartwatch, a lot of people just want something that works and is simple enough to operate, and this is one of those devices. It is kind of annoying that you need 2 separate apps if you want to use all the features. The Galaxy Wear app for managing all of the watch's settings, connectivity options, permissions, watch faces, installed apps, basically anything to do with the watch itself. And then Samsung Health app is for keeping track of all your fitness activities, health metrics, and all that kind of thing. There are many other watches who do also make you install multiple apps, and I'm not going to docket points particularly for that thing, but I just wish these companies could put everything into one app, and then I could say if I wanted to connect my Strava or my Fitness Pal if I want that extra tie-in. The apps are easy enough to navigate, and actually there's quite a bit of granularity in the data recorded, even if something like a Garmin Fenix is going to take it to another level. This sort of data presentation also does make it easier for novices or people who aren't super clued up on what the numbers mean, which is nice and friendly too. I really care about fitness tracking capabilities in a smartwatch, and for those who do, the new BioWare active sensor, which is the thing on the bottom with the loads of LEDs in it, should appeal to you. This is practically the same setup that you'll find on the more extreme and much pricier Galaxy Watch Ultra, and if you've watched my review on that thing, then you'll know that I praised this new sensor's ability to keep up with my more specialist Garmin in sort of running, hiking, walking, that kind of thing, and the sleep tracking is also very good here here too. However, the GPS situation is weird, so it should be, in theory, very similar to the Galaxy Watch Ultra, but it kind of wasn't in my testing. Like, this watch has tendencies to track your general direction, but then throw in random changes and movements here and there. I can run in an arrow straight line all I want, but sometimes the Watch 7 thinks I ran sort of through a nearby tree or took a plunge in the river parallel to the trail at times, and it just doesn't quite seem right. So I would say that if you're the sort of person who runs races or are really heavily into your fitness tracking where really accurate GPS is needed, you might actually need to go for the Ultra if you want a Samsung Galaxy Watch, which is pretty strange given just how well the Ultra did in my testing, and these should on paper be very similar. However, if you're the sort to just do casual jogs, go out for a bike ride with family or friends, and just want something to track, to save to Strava, and maybe include some photos and memories in there, then the Watch 7's fitness tracking capabilities aren't exactly awful and should do the job for you. It's more so that those who take sport extremely seriously might want to look into something a little bit better. The Watch 7 isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It takes about an hour and a half to charge, which is just too long in my opinion. An hour at the very most for one of these things, but an hour and a half is just a bit too much. And I know I said something very similar about the Watch Ultra, and I still recommend that, so this isn't a deal breaker for me, but it's definitely a pet peeve. Also, the lack of a physical dial I know is going to turn a lot of people off, and that's totally fair. And also the battery life itself isn't what I'd really want from a $300 smartwatch. This is the bigger 44mm variant, and it just about got me through a full 24 hours, and that's with the always on display on. It's decent, but it's not great, and actually it would be probably the main reason that I would step up for the Ultra, because the battery life is substantially better on that. The Galaxy Watch 7 isn't a major upgrade from last generation. If you're not interested in the new fitness and health tracking qualities and features, I'd stick with or opt for the Watch 6, which has been heavily discounted and does almost all of what this does, maybe aside from the better GPS in this thing. Plus there's a classic option for those who want a physical dial. But for most people, I have to recommend the Watch 7 because of its superb performance, fitness tracking, display, and design all stack up to create what I believe to be the best all-round smartwatch you can buy. It doesn't have the battery life of the OnePlus Watch 2 or the pebble style design of the Pixel Watch 3, but it's the best all-rounder for me and the one that I will be recommending going forward. What do you guys think of the Watch 7 this year, guys? Let me know in the comments if this is what you'd want. Is this just not enough of an upgrade over last year? I understand people tend to upgrade their watches every 3 to 4 years instead of every year, so maybe this is a big jump over the Watch 3 or 4 for you. And while you're down there in the comments, be sure to like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I will catch you later. Cheers.